Hello everybody, I'm David O'Halloran and welcome to Cancer Demystified. I've just been sitting in the sun, it's a lovely day here. I just thought I'd share some of my thoughts in and around skin cancer with you. Now there are several types of skin cancer. There's what we call basal cell carcinoma and squamous cell carcinoma. We get more of those than any other type of skin cancer, but they cause us the least problems. We normally just get those taken off at your local GPs or something like that. It's not to say that they're not an issue, we need to be aware of them, but they cause us the least problems. The one that causes the most problem is malignant melanoma that you may have heard of. It's the one that scares most people. First thing to say, it's an extremely curable type of cancer if we get it early and we know what we're looking for. So we need to educate ourselves in terms of what melanoma looks like. Having said that, if we leave it and it causes a problem, it is a type of skin cancer that can cause fatalities. So we need to be aware of the risk factors, and of course UV radiation from sunlight especially is a risk factor. Now malignant melanoma, we get about 15,500 of these every year in the UK, roughly split half and half actually between males and females. So there's not massive amounts of people coming through the door with this, but what is of concern to us is the rate of increase. In the last 10 years or so, there's been a 59% increase in men and a 36 or so % increase in women. So they're massive rates of increases for this disease, and that's what's worrying, because when you get rates of increases like this, you get a graph which you get a takeoff point on the graph. And here in the UK we're sort of at that takeoff point. So if we don't do something about stopping people getting malignant melanoma now, give it another decade or so and we will have huge numbers. What's interesting about malignant melanoma as a disease is that it was virtually unheard of prior to the 1970s. Now I'm a child of the 70s. I remember what happened in the 70s, and I remembered sort of two things. And the first thing is, at the early 70s, for those of you who are old enough, you will remember package holidays. All of a sudden, people could get on a plane and go abroad for their sunny vacation. Prior to that, people didn't go abroad. You sort of stayed at home. Yeah, you had your holidays near in and around where you were in the UK. Now, affordably, you could get on on the plane to Spain for 2 weeks and sun. Yeah, fantastic. And ever since the 70s, there's a graph coming on the screen now, you'll see it, it's gone up and up and up and up and up. And it continues to rise and continues to cause us a problem. So if we don't nip it in the bud soon, we're going to get excessive rates of malignant melanoma coming through our door, like places like Australia and New Zealand, South Africa. The other thing that, let me say that I don't remember about the 70s in my childhood, and I've got actually no recollection of my parents ever putting sun cream on me. No recollection whatsoever. So not only are we then going on holiday with our families, but we're doing it without sun cream. And we wonder why we're getting these levels of malignant melanoma coming through our door as we are. So we've got to be careful in the sun. Make sure you don't burn. Cover up when the sun's at its hottest. These sorts of things, which you all know, and we can see, you know, this advice on the internet quite easily. Cancer Research UK has a really good section on being safe in the sun and these sorts of things. But one other thing before I leave, because the other place where we get UV radiation, of course, is sunbeds. Sunbeds. They're powerful things. Studies suggest that, you know, the risk of getting malignant melanoma from exposure to sunbeds is 2 or 3 times greater than the risk that you would get just sunbathing outside in the midday Mediterranean sun, which would be very hot, believe you me. There's a couple of things that people don't realise or really take on board with sunbeds. Is the first thing that happens before we go on a sunbed is we take all our clothes off. Now parts of your body that ordinarily you keep covered up on the beach are exposed to these high levels of UV radiation. And I don't know and they're not used to it. And I don't know anybody who goes on a sunbed and puts sunblock on. Why would they? Yeah? So not only are you exposing the body to high levels of UV radiation and they're not used to it, but you're doing it unprotected. And we wonder why we're getting these levels of increasing malignant melanoma coming through our door. We need to educate ourselves more. Most people, there's no rhyme or reason why we should use sunbeds. And certainly if you've got fair skin, red hair, or if you're under 18, you shouldn't be going anywhere near a sunbed really. And most people only do it for aesthetic reasons, and I understand that. But really for a health benefit, it does nothing but give you risk of developing things like malignant melanoma. So be aware of that. Be aware of how we use UV or sun exposure in general on our bodies, and treat it with respect really, because we need to nip these levels in the bud now so that we don't have the store up problems for the future. So just a few little hints, few little tips there about skin cancer. Hope you found it useful. More information about the courses and the webinars that I do can be found on my website. It's coming up on the screen now. And if you want to find out more generally about cancer, nice little book called Cancer Demystified, which I've written. It's only small, nice little reference book for you to take away and have a look at that at your pleasure. So see you next time. Bye bye.